Hey, brother man.
Hey, brother.
Welcome to Summon Greater Podcast.
A podcast about homebrewing homies.
This week, a homie of ours sent us some stuff. It's one that we've talked to previously. His name is Josh. He did a surprise call-in some months ago.
He was our accidental first guest on the podcast.
That's right. He has sent us some stuff this week about shields. He's been thinking about shields a lot after an episode where we talked about them a lot. So we're going to talk about them a lot again. But first,
I saw a TikTok, and it was a D&D content creator whose name I can find.
The Buff DM.
That is the one, the Buff DM. Thank you for helping me with that. And he made a TikTok basically talking about Critical Role. I don't have a direct response to what he said about Critical Role, but I loved the topic of the TikTok. Basically, what the TikTok said was that there has been a decent amount of people online who have enjoyed Critical Role's third campaign less than the first two. And the reason that the Buff DM gave that he thinks they enjoyed it less is because the characters' motivations are very different. He said that the first two campaigns, there were a lot of characters that were motivated by wanting to prove themselves or a redemption story of some kind. And in the third campaign, there's a lot less of that. And he basically did a brief talk about how redemption and proving yourself are very easy to relate to, whereas some of the motivations that they're working through right now are a little more niche and a little less suited to like a wide audience, and less people are just going to be like, dang, I feel that. And it's going to take a little bit more effort to really resonate with the characters. I don't really have a personal stance on that topic specifically. I love all three of Critical Role's campaigns, but I loved the concept of character motivations. That has not been something that I've really thought about when making my characters. I usually pick a storyline and a backstory and everything for my characters, and I try to make a cool story, but I don't usually start with the idea of like, what is this character going to be motivated by? So I thought that would be a fun thing to bring up and kind of talk about in an episode here. What are some of your favorite character motivations that you've used, either for a player character or like an NPC or something?
First one that came to mind for me was I intentionally chose to make one just like kind of lame and a bit of a coward. He was this character was an artificer that you're familiar with. This was Wumbulus Kroll.
Wumbulus?
Yeah.
Good old Wumby.
I can't believe I stuck with that name. It is not representative of his character at all.
No,
he's a cowboy.
Goofy ass name on this cowboy who actually wound up becoming a serious character.
Yeah. His backstory is that like he really, really fucked up. He was a respected member of a mining operation. And being an artificer already at the time, he was constantly, innovating and looking for ways to push the craft and be a pioneer in the industry of mining. This led him to crafting all new types of machines that were used in this particular salt mine is what it was, and led to a bit of a sort of friendly rivalry with another character who worked in this same mine. However, fame and appreciation from the higher ups got to Kroll's head just a little bit, and he flew too close to the sun. And created a machine that caused an explosion in this mine, killing many people inside it, including the son of his rival. So he ran.
And I ran.
That's right. Yeah. And he chose to turn his back on that situation completely rather than take accountability for it. So yeah, Wombios Kroll is kind of a coward and truly just like a bit of a bastard. And I wanted to see if I could redeem that character.
Okay.
That was my goal in playing that.
So you actually kind of went in with more of a player motivation than a character motivation.
I did, yeah.
That's interesting too.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that either. That's really fun.
I don't know. I think that I hadn't thought about it like that, but I think player motivation is something to consider, and maybe even like talk about in debriefing with your group, like what you want for your character.
That is a good idea, specifically with the DM, obviously, but then like with the group too is not a bad idea.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit, not on the pod, about bringing up with other players when you want to plan out like specific interactions or relationship arcs of any kind with another character, you know. But I could see some benefit also maybe in just opening up to the other players in the direction that you're trying to push the character. What do you think about that? It's starting to feel meta as I'm saying it, and I don't know. I'm conflicted maybe.
I think it really depends on if you want to have like a surprise reveal for your character at some point. If you're trying to go down a route of like the other people in my party don't know, only me and the DM know where my character's going, and then all of a sudden, woo, cool thing, like then I say don't necessarily talk about it because you don't want to ruin the surprise. But if you guys are all kind of working towards a similar goal, and like a lot of your character's story has already become evident, or you are wanting it to become evident to the party, I think it's a great idea to say, just like outside of sessions, be like, hey, here's what is going on. You guys already know this or will know this very soon. Here's the direction I'm trying to take them. Here's what I hope the end goal will be for this character. And I think if that's something that's not going to like ruin a surprise or take away from the immersion for some reason, it would be cool to have the other players kind of in your corner to say, okay, if you're wanting this to happen, my character can pitch in by doing this thing or having this conversation.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool way of basically saying like, we are all collectively writing our own stories, but I want our stories to come together, and just kind of being able to plan that a little bit with your people. So
yeah. I'm going to be as vague about this as possible because I don't think the DM knows that this is happening currently. But in one of our campaigns at the moment, a player has DM'd separately all the other ones, talking about an interaction that is going to happen in the near future, and asked us to prepare for that. So I think that is a particular situation where that kind of play is useful and fun.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Specifically, it was saying like this will be part of a conversation. It will be a fun thing. It won't necessarily have to do with like big story beats, but have your character prepared because it'll be fun to have like a lot of interaction and involvement.
Yeah, well, and like it's designed what this player is going for to be kind of an intimate moment despite its whimsy.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. I will report back and be less vague when it actually happens.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I love the idea of taking your character's motivation above the table. I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
I have the briefest of motivations jotted down for a few of my characters. because I actually did have a couple of my most like favorite, most loved characters that I've
Yeah.
ever played who fell under the umbrella of redemption or proving themselves. Actually, Audin's motivation was originally to prove himself because he came from, his parents died in a war, and because of something that happened, he and his aunt had to move to a completely different continent, and he kind of, shaking his fist at the gods and everything. And so his whole shtick was that he was trying to be self-sufficient and say, screw you all, I can do this myself, and prove himself. Obviously that didn't last long, poor bastard, but
Yeah.
It was planned. Don't harass me, internet. But another character that I played a while ago who is ironically has returned as an NPC in this same campaign was Essen. Essen's motivation was redemption.
Okay.
I will not go into detail about why.
Yeah.
But he essentially was under the effects of some sort of curse for a while. And it and some people really, really messed up the village that he lived in and killed his family. So he went on this really long revenge, rage-fueled, I will kill them and that will be the last thing I do. Like he was fully planning to die fighting these people. And then along the way, met some people who cared about him, fell in love, and then was able to break the curse and kind of get free of it. And now he is doing pretty good. Yeah. So
where does he stand on revenge?
Revenge is still a big thing for him, but it's less along the lines of like, I need this, and more along the lines of, I have the ability to make this person regret what they did to me, and so I will.
Nice.
Yeah. But two characters that I have currently that have different motivations that I found interesting because I'd never actually thought about it. Ito, the replacement character for Auden. Ito's motivation is protecting his loved ones. I hadn't really thought about it because I didn't know what his motivation was going to be based on the backstory that I gave him. But with where he has gone and what position he's in now, he is a very, very like bodyguard type of character.
Yeah.
And it means a lot to him. The other one was Skyler, who you've played a couple sessions with, but you're not, unfortunately, not like actual
not
part
incredibly
of the
acquainted yet.
Yeah. So Skyler's motivation is to gain respect. He has made insane amounts of mistakes on that path, and has for a very long time been pursuing raw power and just saying, if I am the strongest person in the room, everyone will respect me. And is recently learning that that is not the case, and it is actually extremely polarizing. So he is at a crossroads right now, trying to figure out how to feel respected and how to respect himself in a way other than just being the strongest. So very interesting. I have a very interesting range of motivations in the characters that I've gone through, and that makes me pretty happy. Do you have any character motivations that you think stand out to you in the sense that, like, I could never play that character, or like, I really don't want to do a character motivated by this?
Well,
I could give you some of my examples if you'd like. I don't think I could play a character with the motivation of just needing to be the best. Like, that is not an uncommon one. It's just one that doesn't stand out to me as a player.
It just it strikes me as a little shallow and overplayed.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, there are some really cool story beats you can hit with it, and I think you can make it really interesting.
Yeah.
props to Erin for kind of running something like that with her character Elle that she's playing.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot more depth to that character than just that need.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's because from how it seems anyway, her player motivation in part is to expand Elle beyond that.
Yes, she's kind of, her player is counteracting her character.
Yeah. I think that's really cool, and I think that's a really good way to do that kind of character motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Because like at the end of the day, like that is ideologically and morally, it's not a great motivation.
No.
Like that doesn't the desire purely to be the best at any one thing doesn't make a very good person often.
Right. And it doesn't often, I will say it doesn't often, because in some cases you could play a very dedicated person, but it doesn't often withstand the test of pressure.
Right.
But yeah, on the topic of like having your player motivation contradict your character motivation, I love it a lot because it reminds me of like creative writing and like storytelling, where you want your character to end up at the end of the story should be something like the exact opposite of where they start.
Yeah.
So if you are the player looking at like end goal for your character, and you take them in the exact opposite direction and say they're actually doing this, and then you kind of get to like yank and pull and tug and like fix here and there.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool.
You brought up that motivation, and immediately I thought of Goku. But I think this actually ties into to Elle just a little bit. Goku is what, hear me out. The kind of person that Elle could eventually become fully realized, because it is a constant thing throughout the show that Goku is fighting to get stronger. He is fighting strong people to become stronger himself. He is sharpening iron with iron, if you will, not to use a reference that's been hammered into me over and over again over the course of my life. Despite how much the show tells you that's who Goku is, he has one character trait that is elevated far above that, and it's his innate respect for other people. Because he does not let his desire to be the best keep him from humanizing anybody else, like literally anybody. And that gets him into trouble all of the time, because there are situations where he should be overlooking the potential of his opponent or like the good that they can be, because it's going to put himself and the people that he loves in danger if he doesn't just like, just win right now. That's a fun little character study to do with him. Man.
It also sounds not the exact same but similar to Ash.
Yeah, I would say so. It's a very shonen thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And these are all considerably shonen characters.
That is very
including Elle just a little bit at the end of the day.
She's more of a Naruto shonen character.
That's pretty true. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Another motivation that I kind of looked at and went, very, very similar vein. Domination, like wanting to have complete control over person, place, kingdom, whatever. Not for me.
It's I would have a hard time playing a fascist. Like that's what we're talking about.
Unless we're like specifically playing a villainous campaign.
And
it's like everyone else, like we are all working toward taking over
Right.
something.
Yeah.
Like then I could do it. It would just be weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've thought about, I've never played a villain campaign myself, and I've thought quite a bit about like what I would even want my motivation to be, because like the types of people in real life that I consider truly evil are not redeemable. And like I just brought up like how hard it would be to play a true fascist, like blood and soil type shit. At the end of the day, it's a dumb as bricks ideology that I just don't find. There's no fun in even fantasizing about it.
No, and it feels illogical, and it feels awful.
Yeah, and all of the best written villains in fiction have some extremely relatable motivations that anybody can sympathize with. That makes an extremely good villain.
Mm-hmm.
And what's important in writing a good villain is pulling at someone's sympathies while, you know, executing the motivations with bad intentions.
Yeah, it's
You
like
know?
very, very Joker-esque philosophy that like anyone can be the bad guy with the wrong day and the right push kind of a mentality. There's not really a lot of character motivations that I'm like, I would never do that. That's pretty much the big couple there, and they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah. I think one that I could see exploring that I would still have a hard time with, but like I as a person and a player would probably enjoy trying to unravel this in myself, is dedication to one's ancestry. Because I don't have that.
Yeah.
Like really much at all. Like I loyal to my immediate family and the friends that I pick, and nobody else.
Yeah, I mean, it's the epitome of the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb.
Right.
Like,
exactly. Yeah. So I would be interested in playing a character that has very strong ties to their ancestry and you know the traditions of their family, and having to wrestle with that in the face of something new.
that is almost what Ito was.
Okay.
Back when I was first toying with the idea, I hadn't settled on his father being demonic. I just said that I wanted him to have a celestial, like an otherworldly parent. And it was going to be very he's already very like Japanese samurai coded.
Yeah.
It was going to be that, but very like, this has been passed down to me by my father and his father before him and all that other stuff. And then when we decided that it would be really interesting for his father to be a bad, like a demon, then I kind of took that and went, okay, so they have these traditions, but I feel like he would be trying to get away from them.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he's
almost went that direction.
Very much an anomaly in the campaign setting. Like,
oh yeah,
especially that's made abundantly clear by for the most part the interactions that he had with Dashiel, one of the most important NPCs so far.
Who is actually an angel.
Yeah. Dashiel, so demon Ito.
Demon boy.
I took my brain took a day off. Ito, again, the son of a demon. It is weird that he would act any differently than his ancestry,
let alone be actively opposing his father.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, one of the most powerful angels in this campaign setting. It's a very angels and demons focused kind of deal. Comes into contact with him, immediately wants to kill him, and struggles to not.
Yeah.
And she is flabbergasted by the fact that he is this way. Yeah, it's good. I am excited for that dynamic to develop.
It is such a good dynamic.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought up a character motivation that you've been thinking about and haven't done yet, because that was actually going to be my next question, was like, are there any that you've wanted to do that you haven't, or like just haven't had time to, or whatever? I actually have a few. Most of them are like less serious than yours, a little more like funny, and like I think it would be fun. One of them is just avoiding financial ruin.
Yeah.
Like, I think it would be hilarious to play a character that's just like, I just need the money. Like, I need the money so bad.
Yeah.
Please.
It would.
Yeah. And then two more that I just slapped down because I thought they'd be really interesting. Stopping an event from happening. So like maybe you received like a prophecy or something like that, and you're like, I know that something's bad's coming, and I don't know how it's going to get here. I don't know when it's going to get here, but I need to gather information and figure it out. And I think it'd be kind of interesting to play that, because then you could like go through the campaign and be like, that could lead to this and this could lead to that. And there's like a little element of like paranoia.
Yeah.
And the final one is a little more on the serious side of a character working to forgive themselves for something.
Well, the one I mentioned, Wumulus Kroll, that's part of his deal, is like he shame all the way down in that man's mind, because he feels insurmountable guilt, and in no way has been forgiven. He ran from the man whose son he is responsible for the death of.
Yeah.
And is being actively pursued. And he knows actively that he's a piece of shit for it.
That's a really good point. I hadn't made that connection yet, but
I kind of wonder if he would ever get there. I'm not gonna ever know.
Yeah.
Because I won't be coming back to that campaign, but yeah.
A bummer, but hey, it leaves it open-ended for lots of different imagination. Endings, and that can be fun too. But yeah, is there anything else that you think like, I haven't played a character like this, but it would be fun?
Well,
not to put you on the spot or
anything. I have not toyed around with revenge motivation at all. But I would be sort of interested in doing so. Let's talk about Xenoblade. Shulk, that is his main motivation, is revenge. Partway through the story of that game, that motivation is his entire worldview is rocked, and he loses that motivation completely when a massive revelation is dropped on him, and he's forced to reckon with the fact that the world, and therefore his enemy, is not the way he thought they were. And so he has to reckon with the fact that like revenge is no longer appropriate. I now, knowing what I know, would be a fool for following through with it. That happening kind of shifted my perspective very, very early on of how to do a revenge story. You have to be extremely motivated to carry it out, and a little bit close-minded in a lot of situations.
In a long-term revenge plot.
Right? Yeah. Well, especially in a situation like that where like you're missing context to something awful that happened, and this happens a lot in war stories. You know, like someone loses a loved one in war, and then goes on a revenge tear, and then realizes that the war they've been fighting is fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
I think that's a very interesting fate for a revenge story to take, and for a well-written character, it's probably a common one.
Yeah.
You know?
Especially for a well-written enemy.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I could see situations where a well-written character can still follow through all the way to the end on a revenge plot.
Mm-hmm.
A really, really good example of that in modern media, and specifically D&D media,
Mhm.
is Taliesin Jaffe's character from the first Critical Role campaign, Percy. His whole thing was that his family was killed, betrayed and killed by this like necromancer woman and her vampire husband.
Yeah.
And they took over his hometown. And
Sephiroth style.
yeah, very much so. And so he basically like barely escapes with his life, runs away, finds an adventuring party, gets stronger, makes deals with demons and things along the way, and eventually goes back to his hometown and helps to kill them and kick them out.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that is a very like cut and dry, like these enemies are meant to be evil all the way through evil.
Yeah.
Like they directly serve the big bad of the entire campaign.
Yeah.
So your revenge against them is warranted.
Yeah. That can be used as, I don't know about a healthy motivation, because that character is at least from what I've seen, portrayed as a less than healthy person.
Unstable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. On the other side of like discovering that revenge is no longer like appropriate, on the other side of that, you could realize that the way you are going about revenge is actually making you a worse person.
Yeah.
As opposed to like healthy, I'm asking people for help and we are doing this all together kind of thing. Because like I said, with Percy making all those deals, he took on a lot of shit that he should not have.
Yeah.
And was basically like, I will do anything you want if you help me kill these people.
Mm-hmm.
And like that came back to bite him. And later the party had to be like, hey, dude, we're going to help you fix this, but you're going to promise never to do it again.
Yeah.
Moving on from motivations and everything
to
the meat and potatoes of this episode. I shouldn't say that. The motivation thing was great too.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. On to the couple pages here that Josh sent us of shields and a way to make them way more complicated and more fun.
Yes. There are many things in D&D that I think should not be more complicated. I don't think shields are one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I actually wouldn't mind if they were a little bit more nuanced.
I feel that way, honestly, about all armor.
That's fair too.
Mm-hmm.
That's honestly fair. Yeah. He's given us 3 classifications of shields: light, medium, and heavy, being +1, 2, and 3 AC respectively.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why
Mm-hmm.
not? It's good.
Yeah. He reached out to me a few weeks ago and basically said, listen to you guys talk about shields. Love your idea for this. Love your idea for that. I want to actually make a breakdown and like use some historical shields and try to talk about it. So I was actually able to help him hone down some of these ideas.
Okay.
So I'm really, really excited and invested in this one.
Sick.
Yeah. I think the main thing that made me super happy, I'm not going to read all of what he put on here just because it's a little wordy, but
yeah, we'll put this in a Google Doc, I think, and put it in the description.
Yeah,
because it's worth a read.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on here and it's really, really good stuff. One of the primary things was that he argued for removing the shield proficiency and just lumping light, medium, and heavy shields in with their respective armor.
That's okay with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like if you're proficient with light armor, you can use light shields.
Mm-hmm.
Medium armor, medium shields, heavy armor, heavy shields.
I'm kind of feeling like I would make light shields not require proficiency.
Yeah.
You know, for something like a buckler, especially.
Yeah. And specifically with like a class like barbarian,
Yeah.
you don't wear armor.
Right.
But barbarians can benefit from shields.
Yep.
So basically, if the shield has like a special feature or something like that, if you're not proficient in that weight class of shield, then you don't get access to it. That's fairly standard stuff. He also toyed with the idea of having some of the heavy shields have like a strength requirement. And I see that he definitely did do that.
Yeah.
Cool. Good. I didn't see it the first time I looked at this, and so I was wondering.
Yeah, you have to scroll down to the heavy, actually.
There's actually one light shield that has a stat requirement.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the kite shield. He put it on there.
Oh, so he does.
The other really, really cool thing that he wanted to put in here, and again, this was kind of a back and forth between me and him trying to figure out like what to do with shields, basically. Because he asked me, how would it work for like, you know, in regular wartime circumstances, if you're using a shield, there's a good chance it's going to get damaged and you're going to have to repair it.
Yeah.
And he basically said, how do we put that in D&D? And I said, I haven't really figured that out yet. Really, the only thing that popped into my mind, and it was going to be way too complicated, was to give your shield its own hit points. And
I feel like it would have a lot.
It would. Yeah. And that's the thing. It would have a lot of hit points, and it would be cumbersome to have to track another hit points bar, and it would be frustrating and confusing. And I basically told him, like, that's the best I've got right now. I don't know. And he took that and ran with it and basically changed it so that there are, it's on here somewhere, 3 different levels of, he calls it degradation. I would probably pick a word that's a little less of a mouthful. I don't know what it would be yet, but so we'll go with degradation. But all shields have 3 levels of degradation, but different chances of gaining them. So if your shield is undamaged, it has no levels of degradation. It hits the first level of degradation, and then it hits the second level of degradation. Once it hits the third level of degradation, it breaks and is unusable.
What determines a hit to the shield?
That was the part that he and I hemmed and hawed over for a while. So when you're using a shield, it grants you a bonus to your armor class, right? So let's say you're using a light shield. You have a +1 bonus to your armor class. If an attack would have hit you, if not for your shield's armor class bonus, then it hits the shield.
I get it.
So like if your armor class normally is 16, but you're wearing a shield that gives you a +1, if the enemy rolls a 16, it hits your shield. Not you. You still don't take any damage, but it hits the shield. And when a shield is hit in that manner, you roll a die, dependent on light, medium, or heavy, to see if it takes degradation level. For light shields, that's 1d6. Medium is 1d8, and 1d10 is heavy. If you roll a 1 on the die, then it gains a level of degradation.
Yeah. That is something the player needs to keep track of. Like whether or not an attack hits the shield. Yes.
But that's a lot easier than tracking a hit point bar.
It is a lot easier than that. You're right.
Yeah. And again, all of these things, these are varying levels of how complicated or how in-depth do you want shields to be in your campaign. Because you don't have to run with the damage thing like your shield degrading.
Yeah, you could forego that entirely. I would.
Yeah. It's not necessary in D&D at all.
Yeah.
It's literally just, he and I were kind of talking about like a bit more of a hardcore campaign where you have to track how much food do you have, like how much water do you have,
it would be
things like that.
Pretty good for that kind of thing. I think like, you know, a classic dungeon crawl, that's a pretty nice mechanic.
Yeah. Like if you're running a campaign where like one day can span 6 or 7 different sessions.
Mhm.
It would be super sick.
Yeah.
And then obviously you can repair your shields at like a smithy, or if you are proficient in tools, you can repair it yourself.
Or someone's got mending in your party.
Yeah, mending would be phenomenal for
Yeah.
that. It would basically make it, if you have mending, it would basically make it to where you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I think so.
The only way you'd have to worry about it is if your shield somehow takes all 3 levels of degradation in one fight and breaks. Which honestly, I think that would be kind of interesting if you're going for hardcore. Maybe an adjustment here to make it even more hardcore. When your shield takes damage, roll the die to see if it takes a level of degradation.
Right.
But make it a range. Like in the D6 for light shields, if you roll a 2, it takes a level of degradation, but if you roll a 1, it breaks. In the D8, if you roll a 2 or 3, it takes a level of degradation. If you roll a 1, it breaks.
Yeah.
And etc. Like a little bit higher range for heavy shields, but like just on a nat 1 on any of those die, it just breaks.
Let's talk about the function of a few of them.
There are several on here.
There are many.
Do you have a favorite one that really jumps out?
Well, when we scroll down here, there are a few specific effects that I really appreciate. Okay, first of all, let's point out something. All of these shields listed here have a damage stat. For the majority of them, it's a D4 of bludgeoning, which is perfect for just the shield bashing potential of most shields. That is about as much as you're gonna do in any circumstance, I think. However, you have some that are made for that a little better. The first example of that is the Parma shield, which is a light shield. It's slightly heavier with additional plating in the form of a semisphere on the front, known as a boss, which is perfect for bashing.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love these.
It's physically more durable than, how do you pronounce this? Is it a Targa?
Yeah, I think it's the Targa shield.
Okay. And it's less likely to break. So the Parma shield does a D6 of bludgeoning.
These are like the stereotypical Viking shields.
Yes,
you see in, like media.
But then you to that end go down to something like the fucking bulwark shield. This is cool looking, by the way. I like the photo he chose for this. It's a heavy shield. This requires that you have 17 strength and lowers your movement speed by 10 feet.
I would almost put this one at half speed rather than 10 feet.
Yeah, maybe.
Because the whole point of the bulwark shield is that it is effectively taller and wider than you are.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like the tower shield he has on here that it reduces your movement speed by 5 feet. I would maybe put that one and reduces your movement by 10 feet.
Which one?
The tower shield right above the bulwark.
The tower shield. Yeah, I would actually agree with that. The bulwark shield notably has spikes on the front of it. So the damage, rather than bludgeoning, is going to be a D6 of piercing. That's fun.
Yeah.
It's very fun and good. Pop quiz, guess what Pokemon I just thought of?
I am frustrated because I feel like it's like just lingering in the corner of my brain right now.
Yeah.
Because it uses its arms as shields, right?
No.
It's
back.
Oh, Turtonator.
There you go. An exploding shield. Yes. This isn't listed here, but I just, along the lines of what we're talking about here, I thought of this. Turtonator. Is that its ability that does that, or does it have a move?
I think it has a move. I think it's a shell trap or something.
I think you're right. I think it is shell trap.
Because the other one is Chestnut with spiky shield.
True. Yeah. That is very much akin to the bulwark shield. Shell trap. The gist of this. Okay, Turtonator is a fire type Pokemon. It stands constantly with its back to the battlefield. It's a turtle. It's got a big old shell. And when you hit the shell, it explodes at you.
Yep.
I think that would be a fun little item.
That would be a
fun
very
little shield to pick up. There's also, what does the scutum shield do? And am I pronouncing it right?
Scutum? I don't know. This is the Roman phalanx shield.
There's a bonus effect here. +1 AC when adjacent to an ally proficiently wielding a scutum, tower, or bulwark shield. This is good. I would say any type of tall shield qualifies for this. You know, like the what was it called? What was that one shield we talked about on the pod? Like the furnace one, you know?
Oh, like the magma shield? I don't remember what the name of it was, but
yeah.
it was in the episode where we talked about the giants.
It was.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're right.
Because it was a spiked tower shield.
Uh-huh. It had a bunch of other effects. I need to pull that back up at some point. Throw that in the campaign. Fuck.
Mm-hmm.
This is very interesting. It's a little situational, which is fine. That's fine. But you know, you're in the army if you got this.
I kind of like this one from the perspective of you have a barbarian, a fighter, and a cleric in your party, and all three of them can wield the shield.
That's solid. Yeah.
So you can have them like chung chung chung, everyone lock up, and then one of the spellcasters goes behind them and just lobs shit over the shields.
Yeah. No, that's good. That would be funny.
I really like the buckler shield.
Okay.
It is a light shield. It is much smaller than most other shields.
Yeah.
This one actually has a dexterity stat requirement
Yes.
because it is a smaller shield. You have to be able to ting 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 move it around. It deals 1d4 bludgeoning damage. It's a light shield. It has a bonus effect of an additional +1 to your armor class against simple melee weapons. So small stuff like a dagger, a short sword, something like that. You are going to be able to, if you have the high enough dexterity to use it, block just a little bit more effectively with it. Specifically what he's written on here is the buckler is more akin to an oversized gauntlet held in one hand and is used as a parrying implement. The wielder usually must depend on skillful dexterity to use the buckler rather than brute strength. So it's less of a put it in front of the attack and more of a go meet the attack before it hits you.
Right. I
love the finesse of this shield. And I really, really enjoy the way that Josh translated that to D&D with
that's
an additional +1 armor class 2 simple melee weapons. Makes me very happy.
That's a really organic concept. I like that one a lot. I think that's probably one of the coolest ones here.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah, there are several other historical shields like the Greek, like the Hoplon shield, and another really fun one is the Pavis shield. It's a rectangular shaped metal shield with a concave space facing towards the wearer. So it's bulged outward away from the person wearing it. And that's used for holding and concealing weaponry.
That's interesting.
So you can stick a short sword in the shield and then as a free action. And I really enjoy that because it's just a fun flavor way of being like, I have my shield out on me, even when my weapon's not. Yeah. Very, very cool.
That's very good. Thank you, Josh, man, for making this stuff.
And yeah, like I said before, I would love to be able to do this with armors too.
Oh, yeah.
Going into more detail on like, what specifically does this type of armor help you with? What specifically is this type of armor going to make difficult for you? Two that pop into my head right away is like chainmail armor should also give you resistance to slashing damage.
Yeah. I
don't think it would affect bludgeoning or piercing damage.
I agree.
But slashing damage for sure, you would have resistance to it.
Yeah.
And then plate mail armor, I think there should be a maximum number that you can roll for stealth. And I think that maximum number should be like 10.
I don't know about that.
Well, like a full suit of plate armor.
Have you... Okay. have you seen people move around in plate armor?
Oh, I know you can move around in it.
Yeah.
But it's loud.
Is it that loud?
It's creaky. And like, it sounds like metal clanking and all that other stuff.
Kind of.
Like, okay.
I don't know
okay,
if I would institute a maximum like that.
That was like excessive. You're right. But
I think disadvantage is appropriate.
Disadvantage is appropriate.
Yeah.
I would almost also say it gives you a negative penalty. Like maybe like -2 or 3 in addition to
I think you gotta
disadvantage.
pick one or the other.
But I don't want to. I just don't. I don't see plate mail being capable of stealth.
Okay.
And that's me. That might just be me. It might be a stereotype that I have in my head,
Right.
and it came from something completely unrealistic. It's possible, but it just popped into my head. Like, I know that it gives you disadvantage on stealth already, but I think what it was the reason why I wanted something more for plate mail is because a lot of medium and heavy armor also give you disadvantage on stealth, and I don't think it's fair to say that splint armor has the same disadvantage to hiding that plate mail does.
You make a good argument.
Yeah.
I could accept that. I think that is true.
You know what? Maybe it would be. It might just be another movement reduction.
Well, we just talked about how.
That's true. We did just talk about people being
like
able to
movement
actually
is not
move.
an issue.
Yeah, in good plate mail armor, movement is not an issue.
Yeah.
I don't know. That'd be one to think about.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, there's like a lot of that stuff that I really want to be able to talk about.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are history buffs who also have the complaint that I do that studded leather armor is not real and doesn't exist. It's a bummer, but it's also the best light armor in the game.
Yep.
Yeah. So
it also wouldn't serve any more benefit than leather armor.
Nope. But yeah, because there are tons more types of armor. Like brigandine armor, for an example, is one of my favorites because it has metal plates sewn onto the inside of leather. Yeah. So it looks like leather armor, but it gives you more support.
Yeah, that's what studded leather should be.
I think that is exactly right. Gambesson, hauberk, lamellar armor. There's so much. There's so much in there. And I would love to do to armor what Josh has done to shields. I think that would be a super fun little thing.
Yes.
But yeah.
So again, this will be down in the description. You can take a look through this little smattering of shields and the rules that our buddy Josh has put together. Go ahead and provide constructive criticism if you would like. Constructive only. Thank you. And if you have some shields or some ideas for shields or armor or any homebrew at all that you want to send to us, please do so.
Yeah.
At summongreaterpod@gmail.com or at summongreater on Twitter.
Sub to the YouTube.
And sub to the YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.